We go. What's going on, everybody? How's it going? We're going to do another fascinating people this time with my buddy Jon. We're going to sit down for an hour and a half, just kind of hang out. I've got questions for him, and we're going to find out a little bit more about. I didn't have the window muted, so it started like blasting my own voice at me. And we're going to learn a little bit more about him. We're going to have a conversation about how things are going these days. And it's going to be good. It'll be a lot of fun. How you doing, Jon?
I'm good. This is the first day in a week where I've gotten a good night's sleep.
That's
I had
good.
surgery last Tuesday, and it's more been like just nodding off versus actual sleeping. So
Yeah.
basically, if anybody wants to try to simulate it, take about 5 push pins, stick 2 in your waist, and stick a few in the front around your stomach. Then wrap your entire torso in Saran wrap, and try to sleep with that.
What'd you have to get done?
I had an abdominoplasty, more
What's
commonly referred to as a tummy tuck, which is
Oh.
where you lose. When I quit drinking 4 years ago, from that time until like 2 months ago, I lost 100 pounds. 50
Oh, wow.
50 of it in the last like 6 months. So when that happens, I was up to like 270, 280. When you lose that much weight, you have loose skin that hangs down. And no
Yeah.
matter what any of those fucking snake oil salesmen, new age, whatever, it works. Rap will try to sell you. It's bullshit. The only way to
Right.
fix loose skin is surgery. So I fucking paid the money and had it done. If you have a very strong stomach, I can show you pictures, but that's an offer. But you have to. It looks like something out of fucking Hellraiser. Like
Right. Cool.
it's nasty. But yeah, the recovery time has been it's been fun.
I want to after we hang out a little bit. You should let me see this. I'm fascinated by biology.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why I started doing what I did. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm glad that you're back up and mobile and on the mend.
Yeah, it feels good because I finally had it was the sutures and the drain finally got taken out on Wednesday, and that's what was really. So basically, imagine taking like a Cat 6 cable and just like stringing it across the inside of your stomach. Held
Yeah.
with like the metal suit, like it was just it was. I think it was like 4 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. I just fucking lost it and got up and was like, ugh! It just like took it. Like I didn't want to take another pain pill because recovering addict and all that, but I was like, fucking taking another one because I need to sleep. And finally, but other than that, I've been good.
Good.
That's about the biggest thing that's been going on. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, so that's it's kind of an interesting segue there too, because like the for the various times that we talked, because we've talked for a while, and we've been on hangouts together for quite some time.
Yeah.
Was the whole aspect of like recovery and that sort of thing. What was the impetus for you to push to like be done with the kind of lifestyle that you were living before?
Well, I was in therapy at the time, so this was April 2012. I've been in therapy for like a litany of issues, but what it came down to was that it was one night because I was getting drunk all the time, every night. Like go to the bar after work, come home, drink a 6-pack, and on weekends like double that. So I was shit faced basically around the clock. And it was a party at a friend's house, so I lived in downtown Orlando at the time, like 5 minutes outside downtown. There was a barbecue at a friend's house in a town called Deltona, which is about 35 minutes away. One day it was only me. It was our party. It was a cookout with me and a couple friends, and I had 12 ciders, and 3 shots of whiskey within like 3 hours.
Whew.
And yeah, I fucking no. Granted, I was drunk driving all the time, but it wasn't like it was like that. I can handle this. This was like I was fucked.
Right.
It was one of those people who just like I had to sleep in my own house, had to sleep in my own bed. I would never like crash on the couch. So I was like, 5 minutes I got in the car and like I could not see the road straight. I was like, if I get pulled over now, it's done. Like the lines of the road are doing this. I'm having to like close one eye to pull focus. I get back to my house. I didn't get pulled over. Made it back to my neighborhood. Did not go straight home. Went to 7-Eleven to buy another fucking 6-pack because I was not done yet.
Oh no.
Yeah. Woke up the next morning. Did you ever watch Dexter?
Oh yeah.
Okay, it was the season where I think it was season 2, where he's gonna turn himself into Dokes, and then that whole thing happens, and he basically he wakes up the next morning and goes, "This is much better than jail." I had that moment, but it was more like, how in the fuck am I not dead? How did I not kill somebody last night? How did I not die? Or how the fuck am I waking up in my bed this morning?
Wow.
So went to therapy that day. Didn't tell the therapist what happened, but we ran the numbers, so to speak, and we calculated I was dropping $400 a month on alcohol.
Oh shit!
Like rent, alcohol, car payment.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was like, okay, this is. And I had a few revelations before that, which if we get more into my like personal backstory, we can go into that. But there were, a few times where I was really like, you're done when you know you have a problem and you don't care about it. That's when you're done. There's no going back from that. If you're like, I have a problem, I need to fix this, you're still, you can maybe manage it. But if you're like, I don't care anymore, you're fucked and it's over.
Right.
So I got a 6-pack that day, went home, drank it all, and have not touched it since.
Right on. That's awesome.
I mean, I went to AA for like 6 months. And it kind of helped. I mean, they're good people. It has, but it has kind of a cliquish feel to it. Like if you're not going all the time, at least it was the group I'm in. They're all different, but I never got that like, they were good, they were friendly, they were helpful, but I never got that really, you're one of us feeling. It was just kind of like, because I went like once a week on Saturdays, and it wasn't. I don't know. I was doing good on my own. I didn't really need the program. I know it helps a lot of people. I'm not shitting on it, but I couldn't get past step 2. I couldn't figure out what my higher power was. Like until I can figure that out, I'm not gonna go back.
That's something that I think a lot of people share when it comes to the 12-step programs is like, if you're not necessarily devoutly religious in some form or another, it's kind of hard to get to step 2. And step 2 is kind of like a hinge pin on a lot of the rest of the steps. Like, what do you do if you don't necessarily have I am my higher power? Well, shit, I guess I'm fucked.
Well, the way the therapist put it is you can kind of designate anything as your higher power. You just kind of pick something and like, this is going to be it. From like, this is what I'm going to not pray to, but this is going to be my higher, whether it's, the universe or the night sky or whatever. It can be, the idea was it can literally be anything. And I was like, I can kind of see that. But again, I don't know what it was for me.
Right.
So I just kind of stopped going after 6 or so months.
Yeah, fair. But it's a better experience I had with a 12 than what I had with a 12-step program. That's for sure. Oh my god.
Yeah. What was yours like?
Oh god. So I had a girlfriend who, I've actually had quite a few girlfriends who were staunchly anti-porno, and I never felt any kind of shame or weirdness about pornography, but I would date these women that were so staunchly anti-porno, and inevitably, like when the honeymoon phase ends, you're not as sexually active with your partner. And I feel like it's a very natural reaction for men to like start seeking pornography. It's part of the impetus, the biological impetus. And, for me, like, go and look at some porn, rub one out, that's me satisfying myself. So I'm not going to be a burden trying to like beg at my girlfriend's leg. Right. Like, can we please get some fuck on?
Right.
But they would be very staunchly anti-porn. And so they would like start, all of them also were snoopers. So they'd always go through my shit.
Oh, that's fun, getting your privacy invaded just, arbitrarily because they think something's wrong.
So one of them was like, I'm going to leave you if you don't stop. And then I didn't stop. And then she caught me again. And she's like, you have to go to Sex Addicts Anonymous. So I went. But I had read that Chuck Palahniuk book, Choke. So I was thinking I was going to go and hear like all these crazy, interesting, weird, fucked up sex stories at Sex Addicts Anonymous. So like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll go. Fine. Fuck it. That's not what Sex Addicts Anonymous is mostly for. It's for pedophiles.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I would have, nope. I'd have noped out of that pretty quick. And be like, honey, sorry, this isn't, we're going to find another way. This isn't it.
Yeah. It was me, 3 pedophiles, and a really unfortunate woman who was addicted to glory holes in a church basement. And it wasn't fun. It was not fun. The three dudes are like court mandated. It's a fucked up situation.
Oh.
So yeah, I was like, no, we're not doing that. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have.
But yeah, so something else though that I sent you a bunch of questions before we went live.
Yeah.
But one thing that completely fascinated me is so you volunteer with animals at a shelter.
I do.
Let's talk a little bit about that first before why I found this so fascinating. What do you do? What kind of shelter is it?
It's a county-run animal services. It basically, I just go in on Saturdays for a couple hours. It's like jail, except the animals haven't done anything wrong. You know, just a safe place for them to be. Which is ironic because the jail's like right across the street. But no, we just people come in, they want to see them, we show them off. People, we go with them in the cat rooms. These are the cats. If I've been doing it for like a year, so if someone wants one, I can sign off and say yes, they can take this dog home. Take them out in the yard, let them run around, and it's just I kind of came to it as I was finding myself every weekend going out shopping, sitting in traffic, and I'm like, what in the fuck am I doing? I'm not doing anything. This is retarded. I need to fucking do something useful with my life. So I'll give something back to the community and go, because I mean, I consider it like an unpaid second job where I get to play with dogs.
That's a pretty damn good job,
right? You can't go wrong. So it's there are some bad days, and it is customer, even though my real job is customer facing. It's all on the phone. This is like actual customer facing, and there have been a few customers where one lady I saw in public like a month after the shelter. I was like, I'm just gonna keep on walking. This lady was neurotic. I don't want nothing to do with this. But it's really good. It's a good facility, and it's just something that's like just something to give back.
Yeah, that's cool. Absolutely. So the reason, well, okay, so you had to confront a phobia.
Yes.
In Costa Rica. What
was
that?
This is a Jordan Peterson thing, and I have you personally to thank for introducing me to that man. It was the death of
freedom at the hands of children.
Yes, I had not heard of him until I watched that video.
Aww,
this whole YouTube, as I was saying, this whole YouTube skeptic, I won't call it a community, I'll call it a sphere, has been like tumbling down. Like one thing has led to another. And that's how I found out about Jordan Peterson. It's the whole thing about the thing you most want to find will be in the place you least want to look.
Right.
And, safe space and all of like, no, you're afraid of something, you fucking face it. So I live in a house that has tons of like wood spiders. They're not venomous, but they're like this big and they scare the fucking shit out of me. And just random, I found them in my KitchenAid. I found them in the sink, just like, ah! So it's like, I can't stand it. So I went to Costa Rica in April for my sober anniversary. I figure every year in April I'm going to take a trip to some country and just do something fun to celebrate, another year of sobriety. So went to Costa Rica, and there are caves in Costa Rica called the Venado Caves, which are full of these big fuck off creepy cave spiders.
Ooh.
Like this big, as well as like tarantulas. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to put on my goddamn Batman shirt, and I'm going to go trudging around these fucking caves. And I'm going to confront my fear of spiders by crawling in a cave with them. And it worked. Like, it doesn't it still kind of creeped me out. But I was like, you know what? I got home. I was like, I want a fucking pet tarantula. Because we saw a tarantula in the caves.
Yeah.
One that was like this big, just hanging out. I'm like, it's terrifying. But at the same time, it's also fascinating.
Yeah.
And my cat passed away last year. Which was, I won't go into that. That's a whole thing. But I was like, there was no replacing her. So I'm like, I want to do something completely different for pets now. So now I have a pet tarantula. I got her as this spiderling. She was like this big. Now she's like this big.
What's her name?
I haven't really decided yet. I think I'm going to call her Cassidy, as in Cletus Cassidy. Like Carnage. It's like over tank.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Picture of it.
Spiders are fascinating. I have a buddy of mine who's obsessed with them.
What is he have?
He's got so many damn spiders. I mean, he's this fascinating dude. this big, huge guy dresses like a rockabilly, but he's a goth Christian sweetheart dude who like does Christian outreach with kids and whatnot and collects spiders as pets. And he's got all sorts of fucking spiders. He's got like a section of his spider pet collection that he takes care of. You can't touch those spiders because they're really dangerous.
Really?
You know? Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's so like venomous or?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I
Oh,
think he has a
shit.
black widow. I think he does.
They're pretty common down here in Florida. They're in crevices, and you watch out for those.
Yeah.
But
It's
those,
fucking
one of two venomous breeds here in Florida.
there's fuck tons around here in Oregon. I mean, we every now and then you can find a rare black widow. If I'm not mistaken, you can find a black widow in Oregon. It's extremely rare, but we have like I think we have hobo spiders. Or we either have hobo spiders or brown recluses, and they're fucking nasty.
The brown recluses are nasty. We got those here too.
Yeah, yeah. Fucking one little bite and something you have like a huge necrotized hole in your arm or some shit.
Yeah, the key with those is you look out for the violin shape on their head.
Yeah,
that's the dead giveaway. Because those house spiders I have here, they look like super close to them. So the first few times I saw them, I was like, oh, that's kill it immediately. But if you look, there's this weird little like violin shape that's on the back of their head. Huh. So that's if you see a brown tiny little thing, that's the dead giveaway.
Yeah.
It's a very distinct marking for them.
Okay, that's good to know because, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of a fucking softy when it comes to animals, even when it comes to like spiders and shit. And I try not to kill them unless it's a fucking earwig.
Those are nasty. Yeah. Bugs. I draw the line at insects. I have no qualms about killing insects. But spiders, yeah. Like I've got two that like live in my two little crevice weavers that live in my bathroom windowsill. I don't bug them; they don't bug me. But that whole thing was about confronting fear and facing what terrifies you. That way, it doesn't. Because I've listened to that guy to his that guy's my fucking hero. Listening to it, like that's how I spend my Sundays. I sit at home and fold laundry after I do it and listen to like one of his lectures. I've done his whole Maps and Meaning series. Halfway through, like the personality, he is fucking brilliant.
He is really brilliant. He's a fascinating individual. It's interesting too because I've been having to brush up on a lot of my Peterson understanding, that sort of thing, when he gets into things that are very topical about today. Like the things I've been dealing with lately, intelligence and neurology and that sort of thing. And it's always fascinating to me because I went to school for I started going to school for psychology, then I moved into specifically genetics and flirting with neuroscience when I went full blown into human biology. And so when I listen to Peterson, he's brilliant and I can understand what he's talking about without having to like prescribe something really basic, a basic understanding on it. I understand like the very intricate nuances of a classroom setting, but you will have some people who will listen to a Peterson lecture and they'll hear exactly what they want and just completely not hear the rest of it either. And it's so frustrating. So frustrating. But I think in some ways we all do that with a lot of things,
No, we do. I think it's we don't realize we're doing it half the time. We just kind of hear what we want and like, I don't need this other stuff. I'm just gonna push that away. I don't need that.
Preconceived notions or like program biases and things like that. Yeah. Right. That's fascinating. Did you ever go to college?
I did. I went to a community college for 5 years and came out with 20 grand in debt and no degree. I don't even think it's one of those things where I look back now, I thought I kind of wanted to be an English major because that's, if there's anything I'm good at, I was always kind of good at see, there's that speech impediment, creative writing and such. Sure. That's always been something I excelled at when I was in school. Yeah. So I got into journalism when I was in college, which was good. Won a couple like little dinky awards for some articles I'd written. I loved writing on the student paper, but after the 4th or 5th year, and again, I was getting fucked up the whole time. So,
it's college.
I was just right. I mean, it wasn't even like like John Belushi College. It was this little community college, and I was working full time the whole time. So I never had any it was all me. But by the 4th or 5th year, I was just burned out. Like I think it was So I love English, love writing. Math's fucking nemesis. I was terrible at it in grade school growing up. I get to college, I took algebra, and it was a thing where no matter how well you did during the year in the course, if you failed the final, you failed the course. Period.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So busted my ass the whole year. Get to the final, I missed it by 2 fucking questions.
What the fuck?
I was livid. So, but they even give you a pass. They let you retake it. They're like, you know what? It's okay. You can have one more try. I missed it by 3 questions. At that point, I was like, I'm fucking done. I am never, ever doing this again. I even tried to take it again the next year. I lasted 1 class. I was like, this is just, I just won't do this. I will not do this again. Yeah. And ended up by the 5th year just withdrawing with a couple of credit hours left, and just never got a degree. But at this point, with the job I have and the money I make, there's no. It would be one of those like where an NFL guy who's loaded goes back to college to get his degree just so he can say he has it.
You know? Right. Exactly. Yeah.
The only reason to go back.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I college math is really bizarre. I'm not sure how it was over there, but on this side of the country, the dreaded one is Math 111, and it's it's college algebra, but it's kind of like some people call it like the crucible class. If you can get through that fucking class, everything else is at least a third easier than that one. If not sometimes even more so, but you have to like make it through that, learn your logarithmic and I think how many times did I have to take that fucking class? I did eventually pass, but barely passed it. And it was fucking terrible. I hated it.
Sounds familiar. I think this was one of those prerequisite, like you're not like you have to get like regardless of what degree you get, you have to take this one. And I came so fucking close. I was like, I am just done. I'm never doing this again.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy.
It is.
So you've been watching YouTube a really long time. You've been viewing this site since before Google bought it.
I remember those days. Where someone would make a response video and would say a response to, and have the original video title. Yeah,
like listed on the bottom. How do you see? I mean, obviously things have changed. Things have changed. Within the past 6 months, things have drastically changed within the past year. But I mean, from the spirit of old school YouTube, because I was watching YouTube around that time too. But I'm curious, what do you think is the biggest difference between YouTube as a purely independent medium versus YouTube as a global entertainment platform like it is today?
That's hard to say. I don't know. It seems like, I mean, for me, it's, as I was saying, it's replaced television for me completely. Like this is part of the reason I'm having to cut Patreon for everybody across the board is to pay for the surgery, because it's going to take me, it costs like 10 grand. It's going to take years to pay off. So sure. I see the Patreon donations for the YouTubers I follow is basically the cable bill.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm having to cut the cable bill so I can pay for this. Not that it's I feel shitty because it's not that I'm going to stop watching, but it's fascinating how it has gone from this little, dinky, here's some crazy cat videos and people arguing with each other about, Babylon 5 and all that kind of stuff to like, people like Philip DeFranco who have millions. I was thinking about it today. I was like, man, you have what, 63, like 1,000 people? That's enough to fill like a professional baseball stadium.
Yeah.
Like imagine standing on home plate and you're talking and everybody in the fucking stadium's listening to you. That's mind-boggling.
It is very strange. It is very strange.
And then anybody can anybody can do it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating seeing where it's come from. We could say we should have seen this coming, but I don't.
If I had, oh my God, I would have started my channel like 3-4 years earlier. Holy shit. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember my first real foray into YouTube was a YouTuber named Dax Flame.
Doesn't sound familiar.
So I at the time I was trolling around anonymously, like a bunch of the trolley forum posty boards that were around at the time. I never really liked Something Awful, but like Style Project.
I remember those.
Oh yeah. And somebody linked to a YouTube video, and they said you have to check out this kid named Dax Flame, and it was actually pretty brilliant. This kid had everybody going for a year. Everybody thought this kid was legit. He was the biggest, most awkward, uncomfortable loser on the planet. But it was actually this mutant, brilliant fucking troll kid that had just played a character, and it was incredible. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. And that's kind of when I got the first hint that there might be something to this. So yeah, it's a trip, man. That stadium analogy now has me a little shook. That's a little strange.
Well, what is it? So what do you get when you reach 100,000 subscribers? Some kind of like silver plaque or something?
Yeah. You get the silver play button, and then you get a direct line of access to the first level of actual support tier to YouTube. Wow. Like they won't even talk to you unless you have 100,000 subscribers.
Oh, I believe it. I've heard. What was it? I think it was Boogie was talking about. What controversy was it? There's been so many, I've like lost track. Something where like he was like, I can't even talk to YouTube. I think maybe it was it was the Heroes, that stupid fucking Heroes thing. He was like, these random people they can talk to the higher ups, and I've got millions of followers and I can't even do it.
Yeah,
like that's just baffling. I mean, you think about it. There are I want to say there's 5 stadiums in the country that seat over 100,000 people. 5 total, and it's madness to me.
It's insanity.
I've thought about kicking around the idea of like maybe I could throw my hand in this, but it's like I don't have the energy, or I don't have the time. I really just don't have the passion to do it. Like really, I don't want to deal, because you and everyone else, I mean, just like you said, the alt-right, you get all kinds of shitty backlash, like just it, because you're now in essence a public figure.
Yes.
So you have to deal with what. I don't want to deal with that. I have no desire to be a public figure. Like
it's not fun.
I don't bet that it is.
Yeah. I tell you what is fun though. One of the things that keeps me going. I mean, honestly, the things that really keep me going. One, it's a good paycheck. Don't get me wrong, it's a great paycheck. But the things that really motivate me to do it are the interaction, and that's what I really fucking live for. Like I'll get letters of people saying thank you or sending me encouragement and shit, and I try and write them back if I can. Getting a chance to hang out with the Patreon hangouts are probably sometimes things that have like kept me from having a breakdown, because I just had it got to be too much. Get to hang out with people who actually watch what I do is immensely beneficial to me. And then getting chances to just go out in public and like, hey, I'm going to be here. If you want to come hang out, I'll buy you a beer. And then I get into a fight with somebody like, no, I'm going to buy you a beer. No, you're going to, and that helps a lot too. But that's how I do my self-care for this site, because the public figure aspect to it is it's pretty shitty. It's pretty lame.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hangouts are fun. I mean, the ones like it's out of all the folks I was a Patreon of, you were probably not probably, you were the most active in terms of fan engagement.
I try to be.
You were absolutely, because you did like 4 a month. I mean, I think I did one with Shu, and she did one every, I think it was like 2 or 3 months apart. But yeah, I know the Warskis, they were just starting to fire them up, which I wish I'd been able to hang around and do one with them. But I mean, yeah, it was like, God, I was, I had like $60-70 a month stuffed in the Patreon, just between all the different subscribers. But
yeah, no, it's nuts. I mean, when I really started to think about it too, when I started making my Patreon, and I was knowing I was going to do hangouts and whatnot, I assumed that I was just going to do one a month, because then I really thought the Patreon thing would take off as it did. But as there were more people coming in, I realized I'd have to do more hangouts, and it got to be to the point where I was having to do 3 hangouts a month. And I sat there for a minute, and for a whole day, I was like, I'm gonna have to rethink about this. Either I'm gonna have to increase the cost to do the hangouts or something like that, or I'm gonna have to like do something, because this is just so much. And then I stopped. I'm like, the fuck am I talking about? What the fuck am I talking about? For every hangout, there's 9 people in a room with me. Each person paid a minimum of $5. That's 45 fucking bucks that person paid me that month. Now, an hour and a half isn't worth 45 bucks. How fucking self-important am I? No, I'm going to shut the fuck up. I'm going to do them. And then the more I did them, the more I realized that it was actually helping to keep me grounded. And now I just fucking love them. They're great.
Well, they're the only part that was kind of frustrating. It's like trying to get a word in edgewise. Sometimes was just impossible. Like, you know, you almost had to, because I don't like interrupting people. Like, I'm that guy who will sit quietly and patiently and wait for that, like, break in the conversation. Like, okay, now I'm going to say something. You really had to be like, boom, like on it. It's the second you get a break, you had to break in and chime in. So
there are some very talkative figures that we hang out with sometimes. No, I mean, yeah, I bless them. They're great. I think that's probably, it's also a cultural thing too. You know, like every patron I've had from Australia, I think it's a cultural Australian thing. Like, Australians talk fast and they like talk into and out of each other. I've heard them do it all the fucking time, and I think that's just part of it. You know, it just depends. But I'm the same way as you. I'll just sit there in a conversation and actually blah blah. You know.
Well, that, and I think it helps to feel people out before you like if I'm in a room of people who I don't know anybody, I won't say anything until everybody talks and trying to get a feel for where everybody's at before I open my mouth, because you never, just to kind of see, just to clock everyone, see where everyone's at, and then I'll kind of speak and throw it out there, because you never know who's gonna, how someone's gonna react to something you think, and wait a minute, and things just go south, and it's just bad.
Right. Yep. Yeah. It's always better to be careful, for sure. How did you? So, talking more about YouTube. I'm always fascinated about this. What was the progression of finding the genre of YouTube that you watch today?
I don't. It's a shitty answer, but I don't remember how I came to, like. I know I think it started with the Lauren Southern at the Slut Walk video. Somehow I came upon that and her getting interviewed by the Honey Badgers. And before that it was Red Letter Media, because someone introduced me to the Mr. Planky videos, and I was like, holy shit, these are hilarious. Which, that's what I did last night. I suffered through the 2016 Ghostbusters.
So did I.
Oh God. Because I didn't want to watch the Mr. Plinkett without having seen the film.
Oh, you watched the film and then watched the Plinkett review.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was bad. It was so bad. There were probably there were 5 moments where I legitimately laughed, just because it was like dumb. It was dumb enough slapstick humor that was like, okay, that was kind of funny, but the rest of it was just so impossibly fucking cringy, and just like, it was just bad.
I thought it was so weird, because usually a bad movie will be like for the first part and then terrible for the second half. But this movie totally fucked that up. The first half of it is the worst part, and the second half is just ugh.
Right.
It sucks. Now, if it had maintained the level of absolute shit of the first half into the second half, it would be great, because it would be so bad it's good.
Right.
But they go from like this is the most piece of shit thing I've ever seen, to, and now it's dull as fuck, so I can't even enjoy that.
Right. Yeah. Awful all around. But yeah, I started with that, and then it's almost like from there I found the Honey Badgers, and from there I found Sargon, and from him found somebody else. I found you through Chris Raygun.
Oh, cool.
Through the one about Trey Melvin. The whole thing with it. Now and now I have a chance to tell you. You know who he fucking reminds me of? Dude from Chasing Amy. Gentrification. He reminds me of him. That it's all like this big fucking act.
Wow.
His whole thing is just shtick.
I mean, he's a good actor.
Oh, hang on, you went dead again. Oh, wait. All right, say.
Test.
Crap. Hang on. I have to wait. Shit. Oh, not again. Not while we're live. Hey, fuck.
It's all good, man. I will say, I'll talk to the peoples while you're figuring it out.
I can. barely hear you. Hang on.
It's okay, man.
Yeah.
It's
All
any
right. There
better?
we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here now. That was my
I
headphone.
was, I was just gonna start battling at them. I was gonna say, I thought it was really weird though that the new Ghostbusters, the best part of that movie was Leslie Jones.
She was. She was legitimately the funniest part.
She's the best part. She's the
Hmm.
best part. And with how fucking crazy she was acting on Twitter and everything, I was automatically assuming like Leslie Jones is fucking crazy, dude, and she's probably gonna be like the worst part of the movie. No, she was good. I
No, she
liked
was.
her.
She was
But
the best. She was the best part.
that's really
Yeah.
funny though about Trey. God.
That's who he reminds me of. I don't have words. It's like he reminds me of the. And then of course after he does his shtick, he goes to talk to God, what are their names? I can't remember. Holden and like I'm Affleck and whoever it was. He's just like, oh,
Yeah.
this is totally, and he was totally normal. I It wouldn't surprise me if off camera, that's what he was like.
Holden McNeil and
Well,
Banksy?
yes, thank you.
Banksy. That's right. Yeah.
It's funny. I watched Kevin Smith's movies now, at least like Clerks, and I can't relate to it at all. Watching it 15 years ago, I'm like, yeah, you fuck, I'm not supposed to be here. Now I'm like, just stop complaining. I
Yeah.
can't. I don't like because you and I are about. I think you're actually younger than I am. I'm 38. You're 36,
I'm 35.
35. So we're
Yeah.
like about the same age.
Yeah.
I
I
just
feel the
can't.
same way too.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, what about Clerks 2 though?
I only saw that once, and it was kind of forgettable. Like it didn't really have that same like iconic classic cult feel that the first one did.
I don't think anything ever really will. But I found that I could relate to that a little bit better than I could like the old school Clerks and Mallrats and that sort of thing. I mean, they're still cute movies,
Right.
but yeah, that like jazzed up feeling. You can never really go backwards, I suppose.
Yeah.
Uh, and I have a hard time with Kevin Smith now after Tusk. I have to say,
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Red State. I've kind of checked out of a lot
don't
of his stuff.
if you ever want to enjoy Kevin Smith, don't ever watch Tusk. It will you,
I
you
hear
will
it.
you will become violently angry at Kevin Smith.
I heard that was bad. Was that some guy changes into a walrus or some
Yeah,
ridiculous?
there's
Yeah.
a crazy person and he once decades ago made friends with a walrus on like a deserted island or some shit, and now he like wants to transform people into walruses or something. And it just it is the most uncomfortable movie I've ever seen in my life. And this is saying I've seen. Have you ever seen the movie Happiness?
I have not.
Okay, Happiness. Happiness you could describe as a masterpiece of the uncomfortable because it's all these subplots pulling together, and they're some of the worst fucking things that could happen to people, and it's all dramatic, and it's not necessarily like violent or nasty or gory, but it's just this slow burn of everything horrible you could think of in society, you know, uh, pedophilia, loneliness, depravity, manipulation, and it's just this awful, awful, soul-crushing movie. Tusk is worse. Like
All right.
I can watch Happiness and like be like
Well,
I am entertained by how awful this is.
it
Tusk is
sounds
like
at least interesting. It sounds like it could leave an impression. If it leaves that kind of impression, it's worth watching on some level.
I
But
guess so.
but if yeah, no, I can, yeah, I will gladly skip. I heard about that. I was like, no thanks.
Maybe I should force the patrons to have a movie night, and I'll make them watch Tusk. That's not a bad idea. That's a fucking terrible movie. Jesus Christ. Um. Yeah. Okay. So road trips. You're a big road tripper.
I am. Well, recently.
Recently.
So 2015, it all kind of started. Well, not recently. My dad and brother and I, we've taken road trips. We took one in the early 90s when I was like 11 up to Boston because my dad's from Massachusetts. So a lot of the road trips have just been up and forth down the coast between Florida and Massachusetts.
Sure.
But 2015, I got the bug. So I'm fascinated with abandoned places and all things abandoned. Have you heard of a town called Centralia?
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you about it, because I
Yeah.
really want to go there.
I have been there, and I have walked on the abandoned highway. It's
Oh.
there. Honestly, go ahead.
For the viewers, what's Centralia?
So Centralia is also known as the mine fire town. Back in the it was a mining town in Pennsylvania. Back in the 1960s, some careless person dumped burning trash near an open coal seam. Coal seam is a coal seam that goes in the ground when they mine coal. Caught fire. You can't ever put it out. So what happens is a town of, I think it was not 50. It wasn't like 50,000. It was small-ish. I think it was 20,000 or less.
Yeah.
But basically, I think it all started when in the mid '80s when some kid was walking in his backyard and the ground collapsed underneath him into like burning hellfire.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck is this? And they found out what had happened when starting the fire. And so basically, and there's like toxic gas venting up through the ground. It's the fucking. So they had to evacuate the town. There's like five houses left that are still occupied. It's completely abandoned.
It's sinking. Everything's sinking.
Right. So there's the whole the highway, Highway 61. They had to close it off and like route around it because there's like the steam and there's cracks coming up through the fucking ground. And now there's like spray paint everywhere. So in 2015, I was like, you know what? I want to see this. And I rented a fucking car and I got a hotel and I drove to like a town outside. And got up and went hiking the next day and just walked around. I had a whole playlist. It was like Silent Hill and all this fucking. Everything I do has to have a goddamn soundtrack. So it was like Silent Hill and all this fucking creepy music, and just walked around. And really, the highway is kind of cool. Like spray paint, took pictures of all the spray paint and everything. At one point, shit got a little scary because I was walking down one of the abandoned roads and walking down this trail, and the trail gets like narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower. And something was living back there. I don't know if it was a homeless person or a drug addict or something. I heard something move, like tree branch crack off in the distance. Reached down in my backpack, make sure my 45 is like loaded and ready to go. Like, let's take our headphones out. I'm gonna walk the other way.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, it was. So if you go, I'd say it's worth it just to see it. But here's the rub: is so there used to be just like the abandoned highway, and you could just go walk on it, and everything was cool. Now there's a big official state of Pennsylvania no trespassing sign.
Oh, so you have to sneak in.
Basically, because there's 3 different graveyards. You kind of walk around, and there's a little path that goes up the back, and then you kind of go down and dumps you out on the highway.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, I don't want to, because I brought a can of spray paint. I was gonna like leave my mark. As soon as I saw the no trespassing sign, I'm like, that's. I'd rather get caught with my firearm and explain that versus explain it. I'm here to vandalize the road. So I left the spray paint in the car and just walked. I was only there for like 2 hours, and I didn't go give a walk, knock on anybody's door. I wasn't going to do that because it was more like just observe. If someone had asked me, I would have gladly explained, hey, I drove from Florida just to see this place. Yeah. But no, I mean, it was like, just kind of walking. It's cool. You see like empty streets and where sidewalks used to be and shit's overgrown.
Yeah, that's neat. I didn't know anybody actually still lived in there. That's wild.
There's like 5. I think there's 5 people left.
Wow.
And somebody was having a party because one of the houses had like 8 cars around it. So yeah, it was crazy.
That's a trip. Yeah, and that's like the town that's the inspiration for Silent Hill.
That's the ghost town.
That's wild. That's so cool. One of these days I'll get a chance to go. Fuck.
Honestly, it is not. If you go, it's kind of like you won't need to spend. It takes a day, if that, just to walk. Because the town itself is really kind of small, and there's not much.
You go through like on your way to something else that you're gonna go do.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Maybe one of these days, if I can get over to the East Coast, I'll like fly in somewhere close, rent a car, and then go to wherever it is my destination is, and that'd be a good way to do it. It's
neat. It's on the other side of the state from Pittsburgh. Because I remember my dad and brother and I went to go see the Red Sox play in Pittsburgh in 2011, and I asked, and like, that's like 3 hours away. I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna have to go by myself later on.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat was saying Proliat. I don't think anybody lives in the town near Chernobyl. I don't think
I
anybody lives there.
that is number one on my list. I
Yeah.
will get to fucking Chernobyl because they do tours. It's expensive as shit. You have to you basically stay in Kiev and they pick you up and they drive you in
Mm.
and you can't sit on the ground. You can't like if something falls, it lives there now. You have to
Right.
be super fucking careful, but that's like Mecca for me. I will get
Yeah.
to Chernobyl. I was gonna make it next year for my 20th consecutive single birthday, but I think instead that I'm gonna do that. That's actually gonna be that's this year. I was gonna do it this year, but going to Kiev in November is dumb because it's gonna
Yeah.
be freezing fucking cold. So instead, I'm going to France.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
That's a much better idea. Yeah, that's a trip. There's so many really cool abandoned places around here too. The one that was my favorite, and I'm sad to say is gone now. There was a mental hospital up in Portland, and I think it was like Southeast Stark, and it was huge. It was beautiful. It's like when you watch any of those horror movies and they're talking about sanitariums and shit, and they got the big like huge sweeping house looking thing, massive facility.
there's a name for it. There's a specific type of facility. There is a name. I forget what it's called. I
Yeah,
think
I'm
it's
not
like the Kirkman or something, like the Kirkman building, the Kirkman design, where it has the big
something.
building in front and then it cascades off.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
exactly
that's
like
it.
that.
Right. Yeah, that there's a name for that.
They had one, and it had
Oh my
been
god.
abandoned, closed down for like 18 years before they bulldozed it.
Ah.
And now it's like residential hospice care for dying old people built on top of it.
Oh shit.
Go fig. But there is still, if I'm not mistaken, I think Fairview Hospital, which is the hospital that One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was filmed
Oh,
in.
is it?
I think that one is still standing, and it's abandoned. It's closed up. So
They
that
do.
one's
There's another one in West Virginia that I was gonna go to as a birthday road trip this year.
mhm.
I forget what it's called, but you pay like $100. You can stay overnight. It's like ghost hunting. Like I don't care about ghost hunting. I just want to go get the Outlast soundtrack and walk around a fucking abandoned mental hospital and see if I
Yeah,
can scare the shit out of myself.
hell yeah. I had to work in one for a while. That was kind of weird.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I was a security guard, and I did the overnight. There's only two guys that worked that did that shift. It was me and this other guy, and we found the resuscitation dummies that people had stashed, from when it was an actual hospital. This place is really fucked up. Like half the lights didn't work. There's like shit hanging out of the ceiling. It's like it
Oh
looks
Jesus.
all fucked up. But we would prank each other with the resuscitation dummies and shit. Like, I lynched it. I lynched it and like hung it in the shower,
Oh
and
God.
he got me the best though. He fucking put that thing in a wheelchair. He found like the old rubber door stops, the wedge things. What he did was, this is so fucked up. This is still like this. This is the most scared I've ever been in my life. He took this fucking wheelchair. He taped the resuscitation dummy to the fucking thing. I don't remember what he put over it. And then he went to the elevator. He put the chair carefully in there with the wedges pointed reverse and held it as the doors closed. So they closed and it was like angled because of the wedges against the fucking door. And that's what I have to use the elevator to get up and down. So when I hit that fucking button, the door opens and the fucking wheelchair rolls right at me. Fucking son of a bitch, man.
That's pretty good.
I called him that night and I'm like, dude, truce, we're never doing this again. I'm done. I almost shit my pants. I'm fucking done.
I would have also. I don't blame you. That's up there.
Yeah, it was bad. It was a trip.
Oh,
I think it had also closed down in like November. So it had been closed down for a couple of years, but I think it was closed down in November because there was like Halloween supplies like all over the place, and I found in one hallway a coffin, and from a distance I was like, oh! But then I went and I looked at it, and it's like plywood spray painted black and shit. I'm like,
right.
oh my god, you kidding me? Yeah, I love that kind of stuff, man. I really do.
Me
It's
too.
so good. It's a trip. Um, yeah, there's a fucking there's a spot here in town you can only get to during the summertime, and it's called the Acid Church. And basically, once the water goes low enough in the river, there's a big drainage pipe that's exposed. And it's huge, big fuck off drainage pipe. You can crawl inside of it and go underneath the city park, and you like climb up over a catch drain. And when you get in there, it's pitch black, but there's graffiti that's been on the walls for decades and decades and decades.
Oh my god,
Yeah, it's cool.
that sounds awesome.
That's a trip. But yeah, that's wild stuff, man. So, but yeah, so you started road tripping in 2015.
Yep.
Was Centralia the first place that you decided to go?
Yeah, that was just kind of that was the reason I figured I was just going to go and come back, but on the way back I got diverted. Not diverted. The hotel I stayed at so I quit smoking 2 years ago, which is harder than alcohol by a long shot, and also marijuana. That's like the hardest fucking thing to quit I've ever had to quit. But anyway, got a smoking room, and it was just the most disgusting fucking thing I've ever like.
It's bad.
Ex-smoker, don't ever stay in a smoking room. So I checked out early, and a friend of mine gave me the idea to check out a place called Ruby Falls in Tennessee. She's like, "You should go to Ruby Falls. It's really cool." I was like, "All right." So I took the 9 hours and drove from Pennsylvania to Knoxville and got up and saw that. It's basically these caverns where there's a water deep inside the caverns. There's a waterfall.
Okay.
That they've never been able to find out how or why this happened, but it's there and it's awesome. So I went and checked that out, and it was badass. Awesome. Yeah. Then went and visited a friend in Atlanta for a couple days, and then came home. So the next year, this past year in August, was the road trip of a fucking lifetime. I went 6,800 miles, 24 states in 10 days.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I saw. So it all started, and I don't know how much I want to say about this person because she's out of my life now. Okay. I'll try to keep it just strictly factual. Someone gave me the idea. It was something we were going to do together. We didn't. But to hike. So there's this unique rock formation in Arizona called the Wave. And what the Wave is this sandstone where it looks like there's all this waves going through the rock. Okay. And you can only get to it. You can't just go hike it, because if you did, every jagoff and their brother would go out and fuck it up and spray paint it and just destroy it. They're like, we want to keep this pristine. So you have to apply for a permit lottery 4 months in advance, and your odds of getting it are astronomically small. You have to pick 3 days, and I'm like, I want this day, and they draw. And if you luck out, you get the permits and you go. Somehow, against all odds, I won 2 permits to hike this thing in August. Cool. She was going to go with me. She stopped talking to me before that. Long story, won't go into it. But I was like, I'm fucking going anyway. I don't care. This is a once in a lifetime thing. I'm not going to pass it up. So the plan was partially to go visit her in Massachusetts on the way back. Or I was going to make but I was like, fuck it. I'll just, I'll see a friend of mine who lives in New York I haven't seen in 20 years. So I drove from Florida, stopped in Texas, spent the night there, got up, drove to Albuquerque, spent the night there, got up the next morning, drove by Walter White's house, which is a thing, which is fucking awesome. And I had this moment where, so from after reading it on Road Trippers, the couple who lives there, the guy's super cool, but the woman does not like visitors at all and will yell at you if you take pictures. Right. So I get there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and of course she's there in her garage reading the paper. I'm like, fuck. I was like, on one hand, this is someone's private residence. I don't want to just be a gawker, but on the other hand, this is Walter White's house, and you chose to live here. You know what happened. This is forever. This will be a famous house. So I recorded it, cranking the soundtrack, and drove by it. I didn't take a selfie. Got up the next day, drove to Arizona, or that day drove to Arizona, spent the night. Got up the next morning, did the hike, which was fucking amazing. That's what got me bit by the hiking bug. Spent the night in Monument Valley, which is that picturesque desert backdrop with the 3 formations. And I stayed at this hotel called The View, which I found out about on Reddit when someone did a GIF of them opening the window and this reveal. It's the desert. Yeah. So paid the $200, spent the night there, got up the next morning, drove to the Four Corners, saw that, and then did all the way across the Rocky Mountains through Colorado in one fucking day and landed in Cheyenne.
Yep.
Spent the night in Cheyenne, woke up, went to the Crazy Horse Monument, which they're still building. It's not done yet, but which is right near Mount Rushmore. Saw Mount Rushmore, and then this was like a 16-hour day, and I almost lost my mind by the end of it. I drove from there to Des Moines, Iowa.
Wow, that's a long fucking trip.
Yes, and I didn't factor in the time change.
Yep.
Adding on because I wanted to make it to this restaurant in Des Moines called Zombie Burger, where they serve zombie themed hamburgers. I made it with like an hour to spare, and it was fucking amazing because I hadn't eaten anything real the whole trip. Got up the next morning, mailed home my firearm because if you get caught with a handgun in New York or crossing the border or Massachusetts or New Jersey, you're fucked. Game over. You're going to jail for 20 years, regardless. Oh, you've got a Florida concealed permit? That's cute. Come with us.
Yep.
Drove, spent the night in Buffalo, got up the next morning, checked out Niagara Falls, crossed into Canada for the first time. Then went to a small town near Westchester, New York, visited my friend, who I hadn't seen in probably 20 years. So we caught up, which was fantastic.
That's great.
Got up the next morning, drove to South Carolina, spent the night with my aunt, who I rarely get to see. And then, again, spent the night, got up the next morning, drove to Atlanta, visited those same friends, which was the start of Dragon Con, so I got to experience that at the very beginning.
That's cool.
Which was fantastic. And then drove home.
Damn. That's
10
wild.
days, 6,800 fucking miles. I will never.
Fucking trip.
It was very long. But it was, and I had this, so on my YouTube channel, I have dash cam footage of the whole thing.
That's cool.
My dash cam. That's like it's so stupid. It's like an hour long. It's just me. It's a fixed camera angle of driving. So if you ever want to lose an hour of your life, watch me drive across the country.
Yeah, that's cool.
There. Yeah,
that's awesome.
It was fun.
Damn, that's a trip. Yeah. I'm kind of sad. I'm kind of sad that I'm not putting off my trip to go to Atlanta so I can check out Dragon Con. I have heard that's pretty cool.
You have to reserve your hotel like a year in advance.
Well, I mean, Poisoning the Well lives there, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you got people you can stay with. It's massive. I mean, I was there the night before it opened, and it was already just a madhouse. We don't have, and it's like a 5-day. If it's in that, what is it, the Marriott Marquis in Atlanta, the big, like, crazy hotel. My friend took me and we walked around. There's all kinds of cosplayers and just all kinds of shit. You should totally go.
One of these days, maybe.
If I had timed it better, I would have timed it so I would have landed smack in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But Atlanta traffic is bad enough as it is. Excuse me. I can't even imagine what it would be like during the peak of that convention. That's because there's like 50,000 people that show up and descend on downtown Atlanta. It's just madness. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a trip, man. That's a trip. This is gonna be my first time ever going to Atlanta. I mean, I've flown through it, but
it's neat. If you have the chance, about 30 minutes outside of downtown Atlanta, there's a small town called Doraville where my friends live, and there is the grocery store to end grocery stores. It is called the Buford Highway Farmers Market.
Buford Farmers Highway Market.
Buford Highway Farmers Market.
Buford Highway Farmers Market. Okay.
It's a grocery store that's like half the size of a Walmart, and they have food from every ethnicity, every culture on the planet in one spot.
Wow, that's a trip.
Anything you can think of, they have. It's like when I was there, I think I bought like $200 worth of stuff, but I bought shit like, octopus flavored potato chips. And Russian this Russian chocolate that just fucking ruined me. Like, I don't want any other kind of chocolate now. I bought a Mad Max gas can gallon of soy sauce. It's legit. So yeah,
damn.
When you go, take a half an hour, check out the Buford Highway Farmers Market. You will not regret it.
That's wild.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck Poisoning the Well wants to do when I get there. I don't know. I was just like, I'm gonna come hang out, and they're like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Okay,
right.
So, yep.
So,
I fucking live in that county. What are you talking about, Beast? You live in Portland. Beast is ridiculous. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. So so you're gonna be going to France later this year, and then you're planning on Norway next year?
I want to do for the 5-year sober anniversary. I want to do Norway.
Damn, what's drawing you to Norway?
There's a rock formation. Well, really, I mean, it's Norway. There's just all kinds of crazy hiking and beautiful country. But there's a specific rock formation called Trolltunga.
Trolltunga.
That I want to. I think it stands for like the troll's tongue.
Okay.
But it's this rock formation that overlooks like this, fucking idyllic Lord of the Rings backdrop.
And shit!
I want to stand on that, and I want to get a picture standing on that.
Holy shit! Here, I'm gonna share that with people. That's pretty wild.
Because that's after that hike in Arizona. Like I said, I kind of got bit by the hiking bug.
Mm-hmm.
Last November, I went to a small island called Dominica to hike something. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna stand on that shit and get a picture.
That's a trip. Yeah.
You can see the line for it. It's not going to be, like a fucking Disney attraction to wait in line to get a picture out, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So last November I went to that island where there's something called the Valley of Desolation, and it was a 6-hour mountain hike where it's like slowly up a mountain and then like a sharp descent into this fucking valley. It looks like Mordor, with like steam coming up from like geothermal vents and steam coming up from the ground.
Where is this?
It's the island is called Dominica.
Dominica.
Yeah, okay. It's it looks like Dominican Republic, but it's like take that without the N Republic.
Okay.
It's a small island in the Lesser Antilles. It's near Martinique. The only reason I know about it is I've got some friends who live out there, and that's why I was able to stay with them for the couple days. But that hike was fucking like I don't want to say I almost died on that hike, but we came pretty close. Because halfway in, it starts raining, and there's just this torrential downpour. And there's again more video of this on my YouTube channel. But one of our guys like slips and falls into this river. It almost gets washed away, and our guy had, because the attraction was this thing called it's the world's second largest boiling lake.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
I wanted to see that, but we didn't make it because of the rain.
Okay.
And
then it looks like Mordor.
What it does. I've walked through that, and that's it. It's awesome.
Holy shit!
I have been in that valley, and it was something else. It was crazy.
The Valley of Desolation.
Right.
Holy shit!
It was crazy. And then in Costa Rica, I hiked a dead volcano called Cerro Chato and got to swim in its mouth. That's
rad.
Yeah, it was.
Fuck.
That hike kicked my ass because I packed way too heavy, and it's before I lost. I lost most of the weight, but there was still a little bit to lose, and I was just dying climbing up that volcano. But we made it.
That's fucking nuts.
Got to swim in it. So.
Wow.
So yeah, in France, it will be. There's no real crazy hiking out there, but I will get to walk on the beach at Normandy.
Yeah.
Which will be fantastic. There's a small town in Belgium called Ypres, Ypres, which there was like World War I battles took place. There's still remaining trenches from World War I, and I want to walk in a World War I trench, literally 100 years after the battle fucking happens.
That's
that like skin, raising. Like I can't fucking wait.
I dare you to wear a Wonder Woman outfit.
That would get some. I'll probably wear my Ushanka. That'll get some looks.
There you go. Yeah, that's a trip. I've heard from people too that when they go to France, like there's the usual thing of like Americans, but if you go to Normandy, like people are actually really sweet to Americans there.
That's what I've heard, because I'll be staying in Paris for some of the time, and everybody has told me like Parisians are dicks. Like don't even like just they're total assholes, like any big city. But the rest of the country is like super cool. They're really good. And I've got friends who we hosted as foreign exchange students like 30 years ago that are like close, good family friends, and they'll be able to put me up for a couple days.
That's cool.
It'll be really good. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, that sounds badass. God damn.
So before I forget, one of the other things was it was funny. So I started watching. This is maybe it's a little too personal. But I started watching your videos. I was like, I bet if I knew this guy in high school, we would have been cool. And then I watched your video on the mental health and depression.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I fucking know we would have been friends at that point. I went through
undoubtedly
the same fucking thing. Like I had a different reason for why I was angry adolescent. But same thing. Mom put me on antidepressant medication, hanging out with the bad kids, listening to aggressive music. Like it was like, holy shit, I've been through this exact same fucking thing.
It was a trip. It was a really big trip. I don't remember if I mentioned it in the video. Maybe I did. I can't remember. I have problems remembering everything I do on YouTube, which is not always a good idea. But there was one really distinct moment when I was going through that was really poignant for me, which was when I was saying I don't want to take my pills. I don't want to take my pills. Was the statement, "If you love me, you will take this."
Right. That is in the video. Yeah. Because I rewatched it the other day just kind of to refresh my memory. Because I watched a couple, like a month or so back when you posted it.
I think that's probably the thing out of all of it that fucked me up the most, though. Really.
I want to say my mother said something similar to me.
Yeah.
I can't it's funny, like the older I get, the more the memories from those days are it's more like the reptilian, to steal a line from Jordan Peterson, reptilian laden just imagery.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember a lot of specifics. But
yeah, it's all kind of like fallen by the wayside at this point for me too. It's just inconsequential kind of shit. But well, it's not inconsequential. I mean, it shaped who I was and who I became and who I am today for sure. But I mean, as far as like the emotions attached to it, it was so long ago. Yeah, it's really easy to disassociate myself from it, and I think that's one of the reasons why people say it gets better over time. Well, I don't really know if necessarily those types of things get better over time. They just lose their sting. They dull their edge, those things that cause you pain. Like if I think back to all the things that really hurt me back in the day when I was super depressed, I can see why they made me depressed, and I can understand why I reacted the way that I did. But me now, I couldn't imagine getting as worked up as I did back then. So I think that's kind of a disconnect that people have sometimes, especially when you talk about depression, is when you've been through it. And it's what happened to adults trying to talk to me and help me through when I was going through it. They perceived it as not as big of a deal as I did because they didn't feel that sting anymore.
Right. That makes sense.
At least that's what I like to think.
No. Well, what fucked me up, and I'm just kidding. This is probably really brutally honest, and a lot of people watching this, I don't really care anymore. It's part of going through. It's part of getting over it.
Yeah.
Because when you were saying you had the was it the thing with your face, the thing with your skin rather, and there was something else that was the cause of it.
Yeah.
So mine was very specific, and it still affects me to this day. It's the reason why the longest relationship I've ever had remains the one I had in high school 20 fucking years ago.
Wow.
So when I went to the elementary school my dad taught at. He taught for like 30 years. Everybody loved him. He was like the friendly, the cool teacher, and I was like the cool teacher's kid, right?
Sure.
So as I went to 5th grade, he caught a couple of these girls cheating on a math test.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So one of them was getting abused at home. And they knew, and so as retaliation for him busting them and making him retake it, they basically accused him of doing not nice things to them.
Ah.
Right. So I went from being the cool teacher's kid to pervert's kid. Right before, as you're going up like tick, 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 up the hormone roller coaster.
Yep.
Right as girls are starting to become important, right as you're already self-conscious and fucking nervous about your body, which just got fixed last week. It's just, you're done. And it's funny because after I had kind of a staring into the abyss moment last March, I won't go too much into it, but involves a girl, and I was like, I need to fucking get to the bottom of why this upsets me so goddamn much when I get
Right.
rejected. So went to my mom, dad, started getting all the information I could. Got these copies of these tests that they made us take in elementary school from first to fourth, and how they still have these, I don't know. First to fourth grade, it's like 80, 90, 89, 89. Fifth grade, boom, falls off a fucking cliff.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, that's it. That's what happened. And that's where the anger came from. That's where, like, the angry little kid, and you need medicine, and yeah.
Yep.
So I felt I had to share that, seeing as you went through something and so what happened with me is when I got to high school, eventually did get girlfriend, and it was great. It was wonderful. And oh my God, this is everything I've ever wanted. It's fantastic. And then that ends in Shakespearean cataclysm when, you trust that the one friend, I think this other guy's fucking around with her behind my back. Oh, really? Oh, it turns out it's actually, it's the one you confide in that's actually doing and it was just, and it all fell apart.
Oh no!
Right. Yeah. No, it was bad. It was like,
oh God.
so take the pressure of this is everything I've ever wanted. It ends in the most horrible fucking way. That entire circle of friends that we had all formed, gone, lost them all. Spent a week in a psychiatric ward, and instead of getting over it like an adult, processing, dealing with the pain, I'm just gonna smoke pot. And I did that for 15 years. So when I quit getting high, and it's funny, I actually in the unlikely event that I post this conversation to Facebook, I confessed to my mother, like, Mom, I got to be honest with you about something. I was a raging pothead for 15 years because she had no idea. She had no clue. And I didn't want her to find out, this way. So, but basically, yeah, I was emotionally 18 years old from 98 until 2013.
I was pretty much emotionally a mixture between like 16 and 19 for a very, very long time. Somewhere between there for a very, very long time. I didn't want to grow up, so I didn't. So yeah, no, I can relate. I can totally relate. I fucked around for a very long time. I mean, I think maybe one of the saving graces that I have is that I had to make I had to make a change for myself, and I was spurred on because of like how many of my friends around me were dying.
Oh,
you know, yeah. Like I think I lost 4, maybe it might have been 5, but it was at least 4 friends in 1 year, and that was fucking 2013, and that was it. That was like the last straw. Like I was already like moving away from it because winter was already a year old, but I was still wanting to have like that social life. And then like my friends are dropping dead like flies. I'm done. Yeah. I'm good. Going to school. So, yeah, that's some funny shit. It was a trip.
Yeah. I had a friend pass away. Similar circumstances. I think it was 2 years ago. It was, when you told the story of your friend Avery, it reminded me a lot of that, because he was that rare bird who there's only like he's not going to last too long, and he was my dealer, my pot dealer for a long time, but he got into heroin, and it was funny because he stayed with me. So the whole staring into the abyss moment I had 2 years ago. Was kind of I had let him stay with me that week because he had called me out of nowhere needing a place to stay, and I knew he had problems with heroin. I was like, and I called our a mutual friend. I was like, is he okay? Can I, is it safe to let him stay here? Is he gonna like? He's like, he's not himself, but he's still in there somewhere. He's not gonna rob you, because if he does, he'll be burning a lot more bridges than just with you. It's like, okay. And I let him stay. It was good. I was gonna hang out with him for a week, and he was in bad fucking shape. God damn, was he in bad shape? But it was good to have him here. And I was like, I can't let you stay too long because I don't want this to turn into like you live here now.
Right.
As close as we are, I just can't let that happen. And he overdosed 6 months later. Yeah,
it's nuts.
It is.
Yeah, I had this buddy of mine, Frankie, great guy, very doofy. I mean, he he was on his way out, and then he cleaned up. Was doing good. He moved out of the hood. He started. He like moved into a small town, like a few miles away. Got a job as a hard laborer. I think he was doing roofing or something like that. Started rebuilding his relationship with his daughter. Everything was working out really good for Frankie. He was finally on the mend. He was doing really good. About 7 months he made it, and then he went back to his hometown to go visit. And a friend of his is like, "Hey, do you want to shoot up?" And he's like, "Well, for old time's sake," and dead.
Yep.
Fucking drop dead. It's insane. Absolutely insane. It's the craziest fucking thing. Fucking hell, man. Yeah. That's why I don't miss that culture anymore. I'm better off without it.
No, I don't miss it. I mean, it's good.
Yeah, I'm glad I had the experience that I did, so I can kind of relate to people when they go through it. But, ugh, I don't know. There are some really fun stories I have from all that shit. That's for fucking sure. So the other thing I wanted to ask you about, one, because I'm interested in, two, because actually I'm looking into it myself now. So you were talking about you have a 45 and you were traveling around with that and that sort of thing. Are you big into guns?
Yeah, I guess I have to say yeah. I own 6 of them, so I guess that qualifies as a yes. Gotcha. I mean, it happened pretty gradually. But yeah, it started with some of my friends took me out shooting to this range where it's like open air. It's outdoors. It's open air, and you can take. It's like skeet. So they have shotguns. And if we're gonna go do shotguns, like all right. I was like, sure. Oh, shit, this is a lot of fun. So I bought a pump myself. That was the first one. Then I think my dad had a 45, and I was like, oh, shit, I want it. So I kept kind of needling him. It's like he eventually sold it to me. The big one. This is one of those like life dream come true moments. This happened 2 years ago. So when you're 10 years old and you watch a film about a bunch of high school kids who fend off a Russian invasion by going in the forest, and you see C. Thomas Howell standing on a hilltop holding his fucking gun up, you're like, that is the coolest goddamn thing I've ever seen in my life. 30 years later, you go to a gun show and you see it sitting there. You're like, and you have that like Homer Simpson with Tom Landry's hat moment. You're like, only guys like me can afford that. Wait, I'm a guy like me. Like I have no children. I have no wife. I don't even have a girlfriend to tell me I don't need this. I don't even have a fucking car payment. There's no more addictions. I'm buying this thing. So now I own a goddamn AK-47.
Yep.
And it's $600 therapy. I take it out to the range and they let you pull as fast as you want. And I put on music and like I'll record scenes from films of people fight. I'm that fucking movie geek who puts on like the Django Unchained shootout and listens to it as he's in the gun range fucking firing. And it's amazing. So then I bought a Beretta 92 FS, which is like the John McClane famous handgun that's been in every fucking action movie from the 80s until now.
Damn near every John Woo movie too.
Right. And then at a gun show again the next year on the 4th of July, and they had one of the tables had a 1947 double barrel side by side 12 gauge break action Winchester, like the Doom 2 John Carmack like super shotgun. I'm like, you know what? I want that too. Now it's mine.
Yep.
And then the last one I bought, I could whip it out, but I'm not going to. I keep it in the back here. I bought a little just revolver, just something I can carry if I need to. That's not a pistol. Sure. It has a few moving parts. It's easily concealable. It's a 38. It's So yeah, I own 6 guns.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's American.
It is. Well, it's a very expensive. And as I realized as we get to be adults, there are no cheap hobbies.
No, there are not, and guns are not cheap unless you want to buy high points, and that's a bad idea.
Right.
That's a really bad idea. Yeah. No. I grew up with guns. My dad's a Vietnam vet, and Air Force, that sort of thing. He grew up in the wilds of northern Michigan and shit. Good old boys. So I was raised with guns constantly. I think I fired my first gun like around the same time I said, or by like my first day of school in kindergarten,
Oh my
like around the
god.
same time, you know. Yeah, I was firing my dad's little 22 revolver. It's great. Um, and so, and I've owned several guns over the course of my life. I usually ended up having to sell them just because of like money and that sort of thing.
Right.
But as I've become more involved in YouTube, and the more I keep pissing off certain people that I keep pissing off, um, I do fully intend to, um, probably as soon as I get back from Atlanta, get an actual pistol and go for my concealed carry.
Yeah.
So I think I'm probably gonna do that.
Not a bad idea. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so Jordan Peterson is one of my two heroes. Bill Burr is the other one. If you
Mhm.
watch enough of his skits, he's got one about basically for home defense. You really don't need to go any higher than a 22 because and the main thing is if someone breaks into your house, like I keep my 45. That's my shit's hit the fan weapon underneath the bed.
Mhm.
But when it comes down to it, if someone does break into the house and I let that thing off the chain without ear protection,
Yeah.
I'm fucking deaf. Not only that, that bullet is going through the wall and may go into the apartment complex across the street or my neighbor's house.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you don't, for one, with 22, you can still hear, and the chances of it hurting somebody else, because that's one of the three rules: is know what you're shooting at and what's behind it.
Oh yeah.
So if
Absolutely.
it goes through the wall and you hit somebody else, you're in deep shit.
Yeah. That's why I've got my 12 gauge like tricked out and shortened way down and shit. It got uh shit. What do I have that thing loaded with? Fuck. I can't even remember. I think it's double aught. I think it's double aught, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, like it's not gonna go through in any of the neighbors' houses.
All
Like
right.
they'll hear a on the side of the, that's it.
But yeah, I wouldn't say with for me, I have no reason to carry. Like it's so stupid. Like I have the permit, I have something I can carry, but like when am I, unless I'm going into a legitimately dangerous area, there's no
Mm.
realistic reason for me to. It's like for the absolute, only there in the 1 in 100,000 chance I will ever actually need it. For you as
Right.
a public figure, again, with who you're pissing off, I wouldn't worry about the SJW left side of it. They're
No,
too
no.
fucking scared of firearms security. If they're all
Did
right,
did
bad
you ever hear
shit.
about how I had neo Nazis out front of my house?
I did not.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's wow.
Yep. They were looking for
That's
my fucking former roommate. My former roommate decided to piss off the neo Nazis in town and dox them. And so they and he did it with his fucking regular name because he's like, I'm not afraid of the fash. Fuck you. So they go and they Googled his name, and because he used to live with me, then they came looking for him.
oh my
He hadn't
god.
lived with me in months and months and months. And so I'm out there in my front yard, and all the neighbors around here are old people. They're all little old, grandma and grandpas, and they're outside looking at me talking to these good old boys in a fucking camouflage spray painted truck, and these dudes look fucking dangerous. Like they look dangerous as shit. They got rifles like strung up behind them and shit right up
Oh
there.
my
Big
god.
puffy jackets when it's already warm out and shit, so you know they're packing
Oh
pistols.
yeah.
They were looking for him. I don't know what the fuck they were gonna do, but they were looking for him. And I'm having to like calm him down, like, he didn't live here. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. He didn't fucking live here. And as soon as they drive off, I went and grabbed my shotgun and put it by the door, like,
Oh yeah.
fuck. Jesus fucking
Jesus.
Christ.
No, that's some scary shit.
Yeah. Somebody asked if I had flashbacks to when I was a sharp. I was never technically a sharp. That's the thing I should probably clear up. I lived with sharps. Sharps took me in. It was a group of Jewish and Irish sharps. I never got jumped in. I never shaved my head. Um, was I around when they jumped neo Nazis? I'm not answering that. So, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. People ask me about that all the time, but I wasn't. I was never technically. I did. I barred my laces and shit, but
That's that skinheads against racial prejudice. That's what they're
yeah,
called. All right.
yeah, that was weird. It was a weird time. They're really nice people though.
No, I don't believe it.
Lyra, the Jewish princess. She was fucking great. Just the most dirty, riotous, violent punk you'd ever meet. Oh, she's great. I miss it. But yeah, no, that's a trip. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and go offline. We're gonna keep hanging out for a little bit. I need to go use the bathroom. But yeah, thanks for joining me. For everybody out there who's watching live, this has been another episode of Fascinating People with my buddy Jon. And you get the last word to say bye to the peoples.
I would like to say to all of the whether they watch this or not, and God damn it, I should have made a list. But to all the YouTubers who I have followed over the past year or so, you, Chris, Shu, Andy, Chris, Kraut. I can't even think of everybody else. Like, thank you from the bottom of my fucking heart for the content you make. Because I mean, I live alone, and I've said this exact. This is going to be cringy, but I've said this exact line in some of the Patreon messages I've sent out. I live alone, and I come home to an empty house every night. So coming home to the videos you guys make makes that a little less empty. So, I know that's a cornball, but it's true because it's like I come home and I listen to like you guys, and it's like, wow, there's something filling my house. It's not just me. Not that I'm going out of my way to get a roommate because I do prefer living alone. I like the freedom that comes with it. But on the other hand, there's those times where it's like, fuck, it would be nice to just have someone here. So thank you for what you guys do. It means a lot.
I think I'll speak for all of them. I'll take executive privilege and say thank you for welcoming us into your home. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.